Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name's Ketchup, and I'm joined by the wonderful Flea. I'd like to welcome everyone to week 4 of season 2 of the Quake Pro League. And it's always kind of weird to be saying that already. You know, I'm glad we've kind of gone straight from the end of season 1, fresh into season 2, and we're all good to go, right? New maps, some of the same players, and a lot of good Quake, I think.
Oh, absolutely. We've got some great matches lined up. As always, I think, as you mentioned yourself, time flies when you're having fun, and boy, oh boy, are we having fun. New maps, new players in the league. Challengers has just kicked off. The Quake Pro League is alive and kicking.
Now, I believe, for those that may have missed last week's action, we do in fact have a recap video that refreshes our memory a little bit and sets up the tone going into this week's action. So, take it away.
Limiting any damage capability of Nosra, but Noffa does run in quite aggressively and it doesn't work out.
Beautiful play from Nosra there. Takes a little bit of damage, can deny the 50, also falls back on the Mega. There's the hook, he wants a shotgun. Maxster has like 1 HP and it wasn't worth it. A little bit scary there. He's going to be able to get in on this heavy to hang up close and personal with the shotgun. Gets the refrag. Wants a rail, and then he's going to have to go in. Tribolt's going to give to Hang the information, and there's a great defensive rail, and Effortless has nothing to work with. 58 HP, and from above. Wow, right on the noggin. That rocket could have been a lot better.
And it's used aggressively, but Kilson's weak. We saw the power of Kilson come into play when he got his self-control.
Indeed, and that will do it. It's done and dusted. That rocket right to the face. There's the chase and the kill right before the telly. Nice. It looks like sudden death indeed,
it's a matter of time though. Yeah, it's a matter of time. Unless it's a perfect rocket or Psychic makes a huge mistake, there's not much Zeniku can do just now to get out of this, and he will be caught and it will be death.
Oh no. 11 HP, but there's the Mega. Good Tribolt. Oh, and that's the rocket he wanted. Wow. 2 big ones from Dramas. Adding to the lead, and he's going to catch him out in the courtyard, and this is going to be brutal, potentially. Unfortunately, drops down. There's the beaker play. Could that be lucrative for Dramas?
Oh, nice.
Rocket to shut that down. $15-0, maybe another one on the way out. I'm not sure, 10 seconds, but again, he plays until it hits 0-0, so... Rafa, relentless, foot on the throat. Dramas giving him one, and yes, he will. 16-0, thank you very much. He's a little bit better than he was, but still a very dangerous position. There's the rocket swap. Is it going to be enough? And it is into the shotgun. 1 HP clutch. There's a good rail from vengeurR. Good return from Cool. He's going to pop the inject for a little bit more insurance follow-up. And that might be it.
And
any
still up by
damage.
3. There the shield does come out. Oh, oh, he got it.
Razy is really struggling with the pace of Avec. Vika comes out, but he should be going down here, Avec, but he does immense amount of damage.
Look for those rail shots, or will that, you know, is that what Razy will do? Something he's done really well throughout this matchup. And it's going to be Elk in the middle, and Avec
No
over
way!
the rail with 30 seconds less than to go.
So that was a good week. There was plenty of good matches there. I know Avik will be feeling really good about that one. But the format, the way things are for Season 2, the fact that there have been some pretty significant changes and how it's all about those individual map victories. And there is a real emphasis on the cash that players earn from every single map.
Oh, absolutely. Things have changed a fair bit now. You get $150 for every map win. Even if you can't manage that, you still get 50 per map loss. So the players are guaranteed to at least make money every single week they play. But of course, that's a nice amount of cash if you can string together a few victories.
100%. And then that's not even counting the extremely large prizes of all of the stage finals, which we'll get into later down the line when it's a bit more appropriate, because we have very much, I think, still, even though this is week 4, we've only just started to scratch the surface of this season. You know, we've got so many matches left to play, so many matchups and players going head-to-head, you know, just some key, not even key, every match is good here, but, you know, we're starting things off with Spart1e versus vengeurR, Zeniku versus Maxster, vengeurR versus dahang, Cypher and Tox, which is always a bit of a classic one. You never quite know what you're going to get with that. Nosfer and Chain, Kilson versus CNZ, and then Cooler and Base. Remember, everyone, as well, for the final 2 series, we are going to be joined by the always talented DJ Wheat, so look forward to that one.
Absolutely, and here we get a brief look at the current standings in EU. You mentioned Avec earlier. It's great to see him at the top of the board, because I still remember not all that long ago, you and I talking in the studio about how Avec was getting dangerously close to that relegation territory, and now Season 2 is on the way. The man, the Polish prince, has come out swinging, absolutely not pulling his punches, and looking really strong.
It's awesome what a year can do, and it's why at the very beginning of Quake Pro League in general, we were always saying the same thing about Avec, where it was strange that he was kind of underperforming, because you're so used to him being this powerhouse of a player. It's really nice to see that he has, without question, returned to that form, and I mean, you know, should be here for a good year of Quake, I think.
Oh, absolutely. So other worthwhile names on that list, of course, towards the top were the Maestro boys, Razy and vengeurR, also topping out the list on the EU side of things. But of course, we have to keep in mind, since that there's now 13 weeks instead of just 10 of play, people are going to be having more bye weeks. So quite a few of the players on the list have only played once, whereas others have played 3 times. So don't take that leaderboard as if it's set in stone. Take it with a grain of salt, because there's still going to be a lot of moving around.
Yeah, we're very much gonna, like I said, when we've only just scratched the surface, there's plenty more weeks of games, even for this stage, and then the fact that things get reset, and that is, you're never truly safe, right? You don't have a really miracle kind of first stage, and that's you sitting pretty for the rest of the year. You've always got to give it your number one. Now, moving on to today's matches, our first matchup being between Spart1e and vengeurR. Spart1e last week having again a tough competition, but we say the same thing about Spart1e every time, don't we? How he's always able to make it competitive, but the overall series just doesn't quite go his way. But you can see the talent, you can see the experience. You know, this guy, he's played Quake once or twice, but he's got a difficult matchup this week with vengeurR. But I feel like I can never count him out. I think vengeurR is the favorite going into this, but Spart1e, if he does win, all the power to him, and he has what it takes to get the job done.
I mean, very true, right? Spart1e, yes, he hasn't won a map just yet in this season of the Quake Pro League, but if we look back, he managed to secure his own spot, win his relegation match against the Russian challenger that was Stone, and ever since he's been in the Quake Pro League, and yeah, he hasn't quite managed to get that first win yet, but as you said it yourself, the man always makes it competitive, and there's so many of those games where he's in the lead, and there's a minute or 2 left, and you're like, this is the one, and then somehow it all falls apart, and Spart1e just barely misses out on that win. Is today going to be the day? It might be, but on the other hand, the man he's up against is no slouch either. It's Maestro vengeurR, one of the youngest players in the league, Kid Bellissimo from Italy, and my god, this man has some swag.
I mean, he just, when you watch him play, you can tell that he just loves the game, right? He loves everything he does. He loves playing all the champions. He is very much one of those players that because he has been kind of living and breathing Quake from a young age, and now he's in a position where he can really take his skills to the next level. You can tell very much that he's just loving the whole process. You know, he is of that level. He is able to fight against these players that no doubt he looked up to for many years. And now he's up there with the big boys. It's no wonder he's doing so well, you know?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, at this point, he's a big boy himself. If we look back at the result from the past few finals, he's made it into top 5 or top 4 for the past 3 stage finals. He clearly has got what it takes. Hasn't quite netted himself that grand final spot or that overall win just yet, but I feel like he's itching closer every single week. He's making his improvements, and I think he hasn't lost yet during this stage of the Quake Pro League, so he's aiming high.
Now, we should have the maps and the picks and bans so we can find out. Remember, there being some new maps in the rotation, the Tower of Koth and the Deep Embrace. Speaking of which, looks like Deep Embrace is going to be the first map here, with the Doomslayer coming out of Spart1e and then the Strog from vengeurR. I like the Doomslayer from Spart1e. It does really feel very much like similar to an Awoken Deep Embrace. He'll kind of work quite well, that double jump letting him move around a little bit. And then Ruins of Sarnath with the Nyx and Ison. And then finally Molten Falls with the Athena, which I always love to see. And then the Ranger to finish things off.
I mean, I'm particularly excited for Deep Embrace, right? It is such a fun map. I think everyone just wants to see it, right? We got a bit of a taste of Koth last week. Also, Spart1e playing Koth going up against Kilson then. But this time we're seeing Deep Embrace. It's a much smaller map, a lot faster, very reminiscent of Awoken, both in playstyle as well as art style. And I love the map because, yes, it's small, it's energetic, it's fast-paced, but there's also so many of these interesting little jumps that you can do, great lines of sight that you can make use of. So this is going to be an interesting one. And you and I were actually talking before the stream started, and you mentioned that you thought Doomslayer was going to be a powerhouse in this map in particular, and that's exactly what Spart1e starting out with as well.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like it's similar to an Awoken, isn't it? Where you think, oh, there are a lot of little ledges. Like, there are little platforms all over this map where you can do different kind of jumps, you know, like, for example, you know, those nail jumps you can do in quite a few locations here. But, like, Doomslayer's whole thing is that he doesn't have to worry about that. Like, the execution is removed from play because of his double jump, so you can think only about what am I doing outside of movement. You haven't got to worry about movement anymore. But vengeurR, gonna be honest, I do think, because this was his pick, he would have studied this one extensively, no doubt about it. He is actually now starting to make a lot of educational content, lots of tutorials and map overviews and stuff like that. He has done a sort of first look at Deep Embrace. So it's no wonder that he's eventually gone into it. And he's one of the first players that has brought us into this situation, because you know he studied this map extensively. And if he knows it better than the rest, he's got a clear edge.
Oh, absolutely. Those new maps, they can very much be a game changer. I still remember when Veil of Nav first made it into the competitive scene, you had players who were very early adopters, and they had that ace up their sleeve of this new map that they knew so many of their competitors just weren't comfortable playing. So if you can consistently force them to ban that map against you, then you've got a real advantage over them. And if you do get to play it, and this is a map that you already feel comfortable on, my goodness, they are going to struggle to get a grip.
Well, it looks like we're loading into Deep Embrace, the latest map to grace Quake champions, and now we're seeing it played at the highest level. With the Spart1e rocking the Doomslayer, vengeurR with the Strog, it's going to be the battle of double jump versus just outright speed, and a fight breaks out almost immediately. Spart1e using the Berserk to try and run away. Can he at the very least steal this heavy? Looks like he's going to be able to do it, and can he dodge long enough? That is the question.
That was an action-packed opener, just the kind that we would expect on this very map. Of course, Spart1e taking a bit of a breather. vengeurR holding down the top side of the map, already dropping down. He's on the hunt. He's got the weapons he needs, still lacking the railgun. But he's got that ever-important top controls. Gonna catch sight of his opponent, but still, no railgun. Spart1e manages to dish out a decent amount of damage. But vengeurR is kind of choking him off a very big portion of the map by keeping him restrained in that corner.
Now, Spart1e was able to, at the very least, keep vengeurR away from that kind of center point. Right near Mega, there's a generous amount of light health that you can pick up. And as long as you're able to control that, you've always got that instant boost of health, right? vengeurR is going to soak up that first frag, though, and get a Mega. Spart1e in position for heavy. Is it up? Not quite. We'll see. 1 second. Here it is.
Oh. One of those jumps that we were talking about, the rocket jump through the hole in the floor. vengeurR coming up behind Spart1e, landing a nice little rocket. but the Swede did manage to pick up the heavy straight after, so he's still looking pretty healthy. That LG is murderous, but oh, the rail! Clutch shot from Spart1e, still clinging on for dear life. Can he get out? Again, using the Berserk in a defensive manner to try and escape. Will secure the Mega. Thought he was gonna punch the Peaker for a moment right there. And now Spart1e is the one in top control. Doesn't have an LG, doesn't need it either, it seems. Good rail, and he now has a pretty good rotation going on. But around 12 seconds between the items, so that's pretty good.
It's kind of like I said before, right where Spart1e is at this point, that you just got to, use your eyes, right? You can see there's so many health bubbles that you can pick up that Spart1e was pretty much at death's door, and all it took was that one sequence to just soak up the doubles, and then you got other things, and he was immediately ready to fight when vengeurR popped the Peaker, and this was a couple of frags ago at least. But look at the stack that Spart1e's working with, massive stack, and vengeurR really not much he could do there. I mean, just try and get as much damage as he can. Unfortunately, he wasn't quite able to survive long enough for heavy, and Spart1e keeps control.
Definitely was about the best thing that vengeurR could do. Hope that Spart1e wasn't there on time so he could secure the heavy and then do a bit of shotgun damage. Spart1e, though, fumbling the weapon choices right there. Not doing the damage he was hoping to with the rockets as vengeurR put out that consistent LG beam. Now he's gonna miss a few of those railgun shots. Can he make it out alive? Barely, by the skin of his teeth. Spart1e escapes, lives to fight another day, but vengeurR isn't even going to let him pick up the heavy as he cuts him down mercilessly.
Another frag's going to get picked up. vengeurR weak. Oh, fumbles the jump a little bit. And now he finally manages to get up. The question is, has he wasted any time that's going to come back to haunt him? Probably not, because he's still nice and healthy. A little bit more of that rail just to work with, but good position there from Spart1e to just know that vengeurR was going to eye up that light armor. Looking for the finish, and he gets taken out. vengeurR takes the lead.
Spart1e's definitely taking a few too many risks for my liking, peeking several times when he was railable and all he had was a heavy machine gun, knowing that vengeurR, of course, had the better weaponry for that situation. Very risky plays, and then immediately dropping down towards that one single health bubble. Not quite sure about that, and it has given his opponent, the Italian Stallion, the opportunity to secure that one frag lead as we're about to enter the 4th minute. Now vengeurR just sitting nice and pretty on that center area of the map, landing a few rails, and Spart1e is going to get baited out, rushes in for the Mega. But vengeurR waiting around the corner with the LG will secure himself yet another frag.
Uh-oh! Oh! That wasn't a ring out, it was still a guaranteed frag all the same. I gotta say, I'm really loving this strong pick from vengeurR. You actually saw it in their super shotgun, just how much nice curved open space you've got to just build up that speed, to slide around and put him in perfect position to go towards near where Rocket was. And
yeah,
the champions, I mean, I guess the edge they can bring to the maps. I feel like Deep Embrace is gonna slowly but surely become one of those maps where each champion can bring their own little vibe to it.
Spart1e, he had the right idea going for the aggressive push, but he was too far away from vengeurR to really be able to do anything.
That was so sick. Using the Peaker to guarantee the rail being used up, and it allowed vengeurR to put himself into a better position first. I love it.
And this is what we so often see when Spart1e plays. He was looking so competitive in those first 3 minutes of the game, but then now vengeurR is just starting to run away with the scoreline, landing all the shots. Beautiful little rail there as well. He's got a good rotation going on now too, moving back into position for the heavy. It's about 5 seconds out. You can really see how small of a map this really is. vengeurR is just so comfortable pushing out more towards the middle area of the map, knowing that he has the time to loop back around and still secure the heavy. Oh, indeed, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was going to go a little bit worse right there, but Spart1e deciding to stay safe. And now that missed rail might have sealed vengeurR's fate. Nope, never mind. He's still alive now. The question is how long? Wait a minute. Actually, Mega's in play. And it looks like Spart1e wasn't really trying to fight for it. Trying to just back up and get a little bit of his own stack back. There's not really any armor for vengeurR to work with, so he's definitely not safe. Especially as the heavy. Oh, Spart1e pushes in first. I love that decision because now he can get the frag, back up, take the heavy. And vengeurR, I mean, he's spawned with a rocket launcher. He can't stop Spart1e from taking that. He hasn't got the tools.
Good read from vengeurR though, knowing exactly that Spart1e was going to go for those health bubbles, tried to do at least something there. Now Spart1e, he's got of course the height advantage, using that double jump that the Doomslayer has, can position you above your opponent, which is of course the very situation that the rockets shine brightly. Doesn't need the rockets though, rail will do just fine. nails him in the ankle as vengeurR desperately tries to make his way around the corner, and now Spart1e's got a massive stack to work with. vengeurR dropping down just in time. If he had made it to the top, that would have been a death sentence for sure.
And I'm liking Spart1e's positioning. You can really just see immediately how much information you can get in the center point of that map by just listening out to the movement. vengeurR doing kind of as much damage as he possibly can. Is he going to be able to run in and take it? Oh no, Berserk! It should allow him to maybe escape with his life, but we'll see. The heavy was a couple of seconds short of actually spawning, which is going to allow vengeurR to put himself in position. Spart1e, even though he's taken it, the wonderful play! You want this light? Take it. See if it's worth it, mate. Oh, Spart1e still alive.
Somehow.
Double jump, keeping him. It's making him unpredictable, right? The double jump's making his escape unpredictable. Uh-oh, that's a miss. And that might have been his fate sealed right here. Nope, never mind. I gotta get used to these lights, man. I gotta get used to these lights.
Yeah, vengeurR sitting up there looking for any sort of relief. But Spart1e was relentless in that situation. Again, using that double jump so effectively. Missing a few rails right now, though, and that could cost him in the end. He still has time to mount that comeback, but he can't just sit around waiting idly. He has to step up the pace and cycle these items. Spart1e, 44% rail versus vengeurR is hitting 78% rail.
Oh my lord! Yeah,
tremendous. You're right. I was thinking that Spart1e's rail was looking great because we've been on his point of view for these last few minutes, but it's really vengeurR, 78%, done nearly 1,000 damage with it too.
Yeah, it's not like he's barely fired any rails. He's hit 12 out of 16 so far. That's insane. But as we enter the final stage of this map, as it is a smaller map, there is very much an opportunity for Spart1e to bring this one back. vengeurR is going to be in this position where he's not going to be able to completely run away, especially considering the double jump giving Doomslayer that extra mobility. We've seen just how much creativity it opens up from Spart1e during this map. Oh! Here comes the opening. Spart1e, getting a bunch of damage, but vengeurR's use of the Pika has been so irritating for Spart1e. Wonderfully used.
Spart1e just felt like he had to go for it. Watching vengeurR drop down to the right, he thought he had an opportunity. He still does, though, but 5 frags in 1 minute. He's got to make this one happen, and it looks like vengeurR will nail him down once more, further extending his lead. He's got top control.
I'm really impressed with vengeurR's use of Pika. That rocket hurts for sure. And just get gauntlet out. Man knows he's being spectated right now, and that rail is even better. Wow, what an introduction to Deep Embrace for vengeurR.
vengeurR was watching the highlight reel from last week, and he said, you know, I can do better than that. I am gonna land every single one of these rails, 70% still. And Spart1e is going to call the well played a little early.
Understandable, because it's a done deal. You know, there's nothing that can be done, and I think that was a really nice demonstration of Deep Embrace right there. vengeurR, you can tell he's done his homework.
Yep.
And here we go. Map 1, already over. This is very much a GG. If there was a surrender option, I'm sure Spart1e would have done it. Oh, come on, that's just showing off.
That was an insane opener already, Ketchup. We have set the tone. The standard has been set sky high for the upcoming games. Both of these players absolutely playing out of their minds already. Tremendous rails being hit. And again, Spart1e, sometimes when he shines so brightly, you know, those shots that he was hitting, so consistent time and time again, really started looking as if he would make that combat happen, built purely around that combat skill of his. But then vengeurR, you know, he slowed the pace down, set up a few of those traps, lands a lot of defensive damage, stole away a few items, and then Spart1e is just caught without any recourse to make his way back into it.
And I was looking at the endgame stats. Kind of insane. vengeurR doing a flat out just shy of 2,000 more damage. That was impressive stuff all around. Then a major part of that did come from those rails. Just his perfect positioning, knowing where Spart1e was going to retreat. Even though, to give Spart1e his credit, he had some creative escape options, which definitely made it a bit harder to chase him down, thanks to that double jump. But overall, it is going to be vengeurR. This was his map pick, and he was able to win it in the way he did. Clearly, I mean, that plan worked out 100%, didn't it?
Absolutely, vengeurR got off to an excellent start. So we're about to move into map 2. Map 2, if I'm not mistaken, was it Awoken? Or it was
Ruins of
Ruins,
Sarnath.
indeed. It was Ruins of Sarnath, where we're going to see vengeurR play the Ison versus Spart1e's Nyx. So Spart1e, again, favoring that vertical mobility. Of course, he's got the wall jump, very useful tool in a lot of maps, works out quite nicely on Ruins as well. Whereas vengeurR playing more of the default, the standard game. He's got the Ison, the turret, can help you out mid-fight, can also give you a lot of information of where your opponent is at, so much more standard of a playstyle going into map 2.
Now, but when we look at the champions themselves, Spart1e, he isn't shy of taking those risks. And thankfully, Nyx, well, I say thankfully, it can be a double-edged sword. Nyx is a champion that lets you take risks. You know, the inclusion of the Ghost Walk, the fact that you are completely immune from damage while you're in that state. If you are someone like Spart1e, who's not afraid to, you know, go for those big plays, if you have a Ghost Walk, you do kind of have a plan B. It's an immediate backup plan. But it does, I think, with high risk comes high reward, but we've seen many, many times how often Nyx sometimes doesn't work. But,
yeah,
you know, I think you have to be the right kind of player to make this champion work the way she can.
One of the things that Spart1e has to focus on going into this next map is just to keep control of that center area of the map, because I think that was instrumental to vengeur's victory. vengeurR very clearly just positioned himself around that top green armor above the LG for a very significant portion of the game, and it allowed him so much just awareness of where his opponent was at, constantly being able to rapidly retaliate every single time that Spart1e made a move, whereas when Spart1e got himself in control, he was just kind of running around the map a lot more without really locking down that particular and highly important area. So I think that moving into Ruins, keeping control of that center part is going to be vital for his success.
And we'll see how the, I guess, opening moments of this map can go, because sometimes the first few minutes of Ruins can be so game setting, you know, depending on the momentum, depending on the champions. vengeurR is always comfortable on pretty much every single map. I don't really think there are any players that are uncomfortable on maps, besides maybe the new ones. That's why we start to see the new ones get banned so often. But, you know, I'm curious to see how the development goes, because vengeurR proving to us that he's already good to go on the new maps, which is nice to see from him.
Yeah.
And Spart1e having to play the new ones more than most other people from last week as well. And we'll see if he has an edge on the things that are a bit more classic, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I am a little bit worried because I probably would have thought that Deep Embrace was Spart1e's best shot of winning a map going into this lineup, because it is such a new map. And when you have practiced that a fair bit, you can just take your opponent by surprise sometimes, but didn't quite manage to make that happen. So let's see if he's got a better shot going into things on Ruins. And looking at Spart1e, I think that he needs to keep the scoreline low from the beginning, because it is notoriously difficult to play an out-of-control game when you're a light champion on the map that is Ruins. So if he allows vengeurR that immediate control and dominance, he is going to be in big trouble.
Well, it looks like vengeur's first play was to take away that light immediately and then back up to get the Mega, which kind of automatically puts in that delay between the two items, right? I think that's a really wonderful first sequence, and look at how far behind Spart1e has been forced already. vengeur's plan to starve the resources and then put a delay between the two, he's got full control, and we're not even a minute in.
Spart1e, why are you still here? It's so long before Mega spawns and you're railable. Oh.
Oh, I do believe, yeah. I was checking out his point of view. He stopped to type. I think he might be having some netcode issues, perhaps. Netcode? Network issues is probably a more accurate term.
Yeah. Ping seems to be fine for the time being, but of course that doesn't tell the entire story either. Looks like things have stabilized a bit now. vengeurR, though.
Oh my god, that's the worst voice cracker. So I'm getting a little bit sick here, folks. So the cold weather is starting to come about. I don't remember what I was going to say. I completely threw me off my train of thought. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on, vengeurR, massive control of both of the major items. Spart1e now has to fight his way back into this, and that is difficult on Ruins, because both of those small items, those small armors on either side of the map, are quite out in the open, and picking them up, especially when you're a light champion, is a huge risk. So Spart1e finally finding his opportunity, but now he still has to get out alive. vengeurR knows he's there. Spart1e does have the Ghost Walk available, so he could use it to slip on by. Looks like he wants to stay and fight, at least for a moment. Lancer Rail. Trying to follow it up with more. Rockets need to be sublime now if he wants to come out on top of this engagement.
The idea was there, Flea, but the damage just wasn't. While at the same time, vengeurR was returning fire happily. He is railable at this point. forced to retreat. Spart1e, that one shot he landed, it just meant that vengeurR couldn't chase. And that's, if anything, a little victory, because it's going to allow things to at least remain 0-0. The problem is that vengeurR, as you can clearly see, continues to just soak up everything on the map. Like, what does Spart1e have to work with?
I love how vengeurR has just this perfect cycle going on where he
Every single
does
one.
just the right amount of damage with the nail gun to make sure he can pick up and deny the small armors. And what does Spart1e have to work with? Nothing. He did manage to avoid his opponent for long enough that he has that Ghost Walk available, so he can escape pretty much any tricky situation, as he demonstrates right here. But how is he going to restack? What is he going to do to get himself back into this?
Mega's up, but Spart1e is nowhere near it for good reason. Does not want to make his presence known when he is this weak. I mean, 59 HP currently. Probably going to pick up maybe a light if there's one nearby. There should be one underneath near eyeball, but he's having to walk so carefully and so slowly. I don't even think he wants to pick it up because it's going to make noise and give away his position.
Stopwatch.
He might have to though. There we go. He does pick it up. No longer railable. Taking out that turret, that is going to give away his position, though. vengeurR should have a decent idea of where Spart1e is at. Spart1e, he's hanging on to that Ghost Walk a lot. He did have it available right there, but I think he just figured that I can't keep going like this. I need to save my Ghost Walk for when I can actually make a decent move. And he was happy, or content at least, to give up a frag in that engagement rather than using it. And again, being on the back foot for another half a minute, trying desperately to stay alive. So not that bad of a decision if you look at him being able to secure 2 of the major items now. And it's actually vengeurR who's on the back foot, so this might still pay off for Spart1e.
And he's hitting those close range rails. We say big risk and big reward. He misses a single one. He's going to get hit with damage he does not want to take, but thankfully for Spart1e, he does actually manage. Also, mini shout out towards Heavy. The fact that he got that unofficial double whammy going through Ison and hitting the turret as well. That was pretty stylish. Anyway, 1-1. Spart1e significantly down on stack, having to go into the more risky point. A lot of players don't really like sitting under there. There's rather predictable ways to escape, and you can get stuck between a rock and a hard place. Thankfully for Spart1e, the Ghost Walk means he can be a little bit safer in that respect. But now both players, the rail fight. Who's going to get the first unreturned shot will be Spart1e. And he gets the second, taking control. Good stuff for him, and a nice little bit of breathing space, I think. Aggressive Ghost Walk. Hang on a minute.
Risky though, risky. vengeurR did manage to steal away the Heavy. Spart1e has no armor whatsoever to work with right now. Needs to find something, because he is not in a competitive place right now. He's got the health, but that is rapidly ticking away. So by the time that he meets vengeurR again, he's going to be massively outstacked unless he can secure himself something. That was a predictable jump, and another one. Spart1e fumbling the movement right there.
Oh,
now off the
Lord,
spawn.
that's a terrible place to spawn.
Yeah.
And vengeurR, that whole sequence came from vengeurR just being in the perfect position, knowing that Spart1e was out of armor, and knowing that the light was just too attractive to pass up.
Good plays from vengeurR, cementing himself in the leads. Oh, slipping on by Spart1e. I like the play. He was in a very vulnerable position, but vengeurR again. What is he doing? Catch up. 47% rail from the Italian. Not quite the 70 we saw earlier, but it's working.
Spart1e cannot afford for this to slip away again, because he's been working so hard to establish what was a small lead, but it was a lead. The problem is now, 4 minutes left on the clock. vengeurR again in full control and hitting the shots the way he is. Spart1e can give up no more free frags, no more bad situations. Oh, lovely shot. That's a great way to get back up.
vengeurR messing up the jump right there. Dropping down. That gave Spart1e a bit of an angle to land the rail. Looks like vengeurR won't even contest for that Heavy. She's going to leave it be. Set up on Mega instead, knowing that Spart1e wants a piece of that as well. But these rails are pretty good. Can he land the other?
Oh, 100!
That's a bad one to take to the face. That's for sure. And Spart1e now landed enough rail damage to know that his opponent is weak. He's on the hunt. They're both so close to one another, but no one has the clue as to where the other is at. vengeurR, first one to react. Good rocket though.
That was quite a favorable position for vengeurR though, because Spart1e had really no idea where vengeurR... He knew he was in Mega Room, but where was another question. So it was more likely safer to have the rail in case he's far away. vengeurR knows, if I have a rocket launcher, you are only going to be close range. So there was really no reason for him to not have that weapon out. Turned out to be the best option.
Yep.
Oh, no! Hello!
Spart1e messed up in that engagement with the railgun. He wasn't expecting vengeurR to be that close. So he took a very bad rocket to the face while he whiffed the rail. The shotgun would have killed his opponent with ease. But still, looks like Spart1e is in a better position to secure Mega. His aim needs to be on point though. Can he land the final shot? Has to pop the Ghost Walk with a few points of health left. This is disastrous. Ketchup. This is going wrong once again.
Unfortunately for Spart1e in the later stages of this map, that Ghost Walk, it's becoming the kind of typical Nyx from behind Ghost Walk, where it's used to keep her alive, but all it really does is delay the inevitable rather than give her some kind of upper hand. Spart1e, not to say the Ghost Walk really is, you know, the cause of this defeat, or current defeat, but it's not really going to be helping him at this point, whereas vengeur's turret just continues to be such a nuisance all the time. On top of the fact that vengeurR is keeping significant stack above. More rockets hitting their mark. Spart1e not really having a lot of weapons to get the job done there.
Spart1e had absolutely no business getting away with sitting there with 0 armor waiting on the Mega, but he managed to knock his opponent down, and now he's actually in a pretty decent spot. If he can dodge the turret, if he can pick up the heavy. He does both. Heavy should be his for the taking, but with that little health, anything will still kill him. And he's almost running out of time. 90 seconds left to work with.
It's almost like that heavy going in the favor of Spart1e is something that vengeurR really doesn't care about, because he knows that Spart1e's weak. He knows Mega's going to spawn. And he knows that by the time we have our next fight, Ison is way more stacked than Nyx. And that rocket certainly doesn't help matters. Willing to call this one a GG. And as Spart1e can pull off this absolute string of momentum, 4 frags in a minute, I mean... It's a rather tall order, I think, and now impossible. Absolutely. If it wasn't impossible before, it is now.
Yeah. I like the attempt, the desperation right there, going up with the Ghost Walk shotgun. But because vengeurR went on the bounce pad just beforehand, he didn't get close enough to really do a significant amount of damage with the shotty. And so vengeurR just turned around and used the LG, knowing very well that Spart1e didn't have any weapons to work with. He's just gonna let the turret clean it up. He says, I know this is over and done. I am going to take the win this week as well. Turret, take it away. As he is just adding and piling on frags to the list.
And as we go into the final 15 seconds, we know the victory is guaranteed here for vengeurR, and Spart1e will as well. But it just seems to be a common theme with Spart1e, where it definitely feels like his... Oh, come on. Come on, vengeurR just looking for some highlight reel moments and didn't quite squeeze out the final one. Anyway, what I was going to say was, it does seem a lot like Spart1e. His greater moments in the map tend to come from the first half, and in the second half, it kind of just starts to slip away, doesn't it? And it's been both of these maps so far where Spart1e keeps things damn competitive for the first section, and by the end of things, it kind of just slips through his fingers.
Yeah, and he's definitely not the only player where you can see that kind of behavior, right? You've got a lot of those that are just approaching that middle of the leaderboard, so to say. So they're not quite top 5 yet, but they're around there. And you see it both in EU and NA. They start off their game strong, aggressive, getting frags, really landing their shots. But then in the second half, you know, Quake is an endurance game. 10 minutes is quite a long time to constantly be keeping track of your opponent, the items, landing your shots over and over again. So when your opponent has that long-term plan and is able to strategize going into the final few minutes as well, and then cement their lead and actually run away with it rather than just make do, it's very difficult to keep up. And vengeurR clearly displayed that once again in this map.
Yeah, looking at things like damage, they were almost completely split down the middle. Only 150 really separated them. What's that, like a couple of rails or so?
Yeah.
So definitely didn't come down to that. Just the element of our next map, Molten Falls, the final pick. The Athena coming out from vengeurR, which you always love to see.
Yeah, you were excited to see the Athena with the grapples, with the swings and the hooks. She is one of the most mobile champions in the game, definitely one of the fastest as well. Got a lot of vertical and horizontal mobility, and that's not something that a lot of champions have got going for her. But of course, on the other hand, she is quite squishy, doesn't have a lot of stack to work with. So if Spart1e can catch her in a bad position, that orb, together with, say, a shotgun or a rocket, can just completely destroy and demolish that opponent instantly.
Well, we could look at the potential of maybe even reversing the momentum, because when we look at Ruins of Sarnath, it was a battle of vengeurR thinking, hang on a minute, I've got a larger stack than you, and the absolute focus the Italian had on just making sure that he soaked up pretty much as many of those stack resources as possible, you know, take those up, even down to the first play he did, which was, he was near Mega side, and he ran towards and took the light away, backed up taking the Mega, knew that he'd still be able to pick it up. And within about 30 seconds, Spart1e already had pretty much nothing to pick up himself to keep him afloat. And he was behind before we even hit the minute mark.
Yeah, very true. So let's see if he can stabilize things a little sooner this time around and stop bleeding so much in frags early on in the game. Molten Falls, again, a larger map, a very open map, a lot of nice angles, and we know that Spart1e knows his way around that railgun very well. We saw it in the beginning, we saw it on map 2, he's been landing a lot of really nice shots, and I think that out of all the 3 maps, this is probably the one where the railgun is the most important, so maybe that will give Spart1e a bit of an edge. But then on the other hand, vengeurR, that's 71% rail on map 1, clearly the man is going to match everything you throw at him in that regard.
vengeurR will have to show a lot of respect. And when we look at the duel on the Ranger, especially when you are playing a light champion who can very easily, even when you've got a large stack, can be shredded by a couple of good rockets and one orb at close range, of which, you know, we're talking about champions that allow you to be a little bit more risky. Ranger's one of them, and Spart1e plays Ranger a lot, presumably for that reason, because if he has that big decision and he knows he can make a fight work out, his orb can do pretty wonderful things. And against a light champion like this, if vengeur's not showing respect, those kind of key areas, he knows he's going to get shredded.
Yeah. Very true, and on that note, we will be loading into the final map. For those of you just tuning in, vengeurR won the first 2, so it's already been decided in his favor. But of course, we're all about the money in Season 2 of the Quake Pro League, so there's still a lot on the line for Spart1e. Still looking to make his mark and also get that first map win of the season, since he hasn't managed to do so just yet.
He's had some stiff competition so far,
Oh,
however.
yeah.
With where we are in Quake Pro League, it feels like every single player in this is stiff competition now. And as we go into these items, both of them have been soaked up. And that mobility right there is why the rail might be a little bit trickier to land. Oh, that defensive rocket was so tasty, vengeurR. Oh no, off he goes!
Yeah, and just like that, it all falls apart. Spart1e starting off strong, getting the upper hand right away, but then having to chase vengeurR, eating rockets left and right. vengeurR, of course, known for his incredible rockets. And Spart1e now taking a fair bit of damage again. Both players eyeing up the heavy. Spart1e, you shouldn't be here. Still decides to go for it, mistiming it slightly, and that will allow vengeurR to extend his lead.
Now, the problem with this, he runs in to try and deny, but he has, oh my lord, 3 frags, 2 ring outs. Okay, I see you, vengeurR, I see you.
I was expecting to see ring outs on Deep Embrace because there's just so many places where you can fall off, but looks like Molten is all about
he's just
those
trying to
fiery
make up
depths.
for it, you know? Another
Spart1e.
frag. Oh, the snowball effect is looking real, and we're not even 2 minutes in, Flea. Savage stuff from vengeurR.
Again, too soon. Too soon. A second or two.
No way! 3 ring outs! Let's go, vengeurR!
What is happening today? Spart1e. He's getting... Spart1e's as intimately acquainted with the outside of Molten as he is with the actual map itself today. Again, no! This is the 3rd time in a row. Stop dropping for it. If you don't have exact timing, you don't have the stack, and vengeurR is waiting below with an LG or rockets,
out,
you
Spy,
can't just
there's a
drop on
ledge
it. There it is.
There's a ledge! Oh my lord, it looked like he was going to get ring out again.
For a moment, it did look like it.
Oh, vengeurR. Yeah, and the extra element is just the absolute... No, oh, come on. He almost got another one, Flea. Oh!
You could make a frag movie with this alone.
Well, by the time
9
he gets 10 frags, this will be all of our 10 clips for the top 10 plays. All right, a trade, which doesn't help really at all. I mean, it helps you stabilize a little bit, but there's, I mean, we're not even 3 minutes in. There is 10 frags on the side of vengeurR. The mammoth amount of work Spart1e has to do now. I mean, I can't say I even think this is going to be possible because vengeurR is clearly playing out of his mind, and Spart1e plays a little bit flustered.
I think flustered is probably the right way of putting it. Still though, 10 points of health. This could be a frag for the Swede. And I think he might also be actually securing himself. Why is he still chasing rather than picking up the Heavy? Heavy is still left unattended. He's actually gonna pick up Mega. vengeurR doesn't know that Heavy is still up. Could have already taken it. But Spart1e catches a lucky break. Still secures the Heavy, and I don't think vengeurR has got any idea that it was only just taken.
Oh my lord! That kind of rocket, and that one's just as good. Amazing stuff for vengeurR, who is having one of his best maps in Quake Pro League so far, I think, which is how it's going for him. The fact that it's 11 frags so far. The manner of which he's got them, you know, a couple of highlight reels. You know, vengeurR lives for the highlight reel, but, I mean, let's just talk about this for a second. vengeurR is playing his rock-solid game, and Spart1e just giving him exactly what he wants.
Oh.
And just do not challenge the aim of this guy. He's ridiculous.
The mid-airs. Absolutely nutty.
No!
And off you go again. Number 4, vengeurR. Whipping that aim around like it's no one's business. The man knows exactly what he's doing. Realizes he doesn't quite have the exact timing on the Mega. So will abandon that position. He knows he can just play the runaway game. He's got the speed, he's got the momentum, and Spart1e desperately looking for an angle, won't get it. vengeurR, the man is on fire. This is some of the best we've ever seen him play. This is nuts, SketchUp.
This is absolutely ridiculous. And I'll be honest, if the top 10 clips of the week, if the #1 clip is not just a compilation of the ring outs, the 5th one! What is this? Oh, vengeurR. Oh, we love you so much, mate. We love you so much. Spart1e, I mean, this map is over. This map is over.
Are we going to see a highlight reel of 5 out of 10 highlights being ring outs on this map alone?
I hope so. If not, one big super compilation at #1.
Yeah.
Just put all 5 of them together. Just do
That
it.
could work. That
You
could
know
work.
it's what the people will want. Watch out,
Rockets.
Spart1e, there's a ledge there. Sorry, I hope I'm not coming across as disrespectful. This is just a really interesting map. Spart1e, I think, is just the poor soul on the receiving end of these ring outs.
Yeah, vengeurR, there is no stopping this man. 80% rail. He looked at that 71% on map 1 and he said, nah, this is beginner stuff. I can do better than that. vengeurR just not letting on whatsoever.
No!
Oh no, he's got
my
the orb.
God! No way!
Saved himself.
He saved himself, but then almost got ring out again immediately. Now, on a serious note, I think what this absolutely is spelling is, I think definitely Spart1e being a little bit checked out, to be honest. He's pushing so hard into these, to get back to normal commentary for a minute, he's pushing so hard on these items that clearly his advance on these points is just so predictable and so fast that vengeurR, he's having to just hit the same rocket angle every time, and he knows what it will do. He knows it will ring out. It's becoming a lot more about, oh no, that jump, I'm getting really nervous every...
Six, yeah.
6 of them flee. But at this point, I don't know why Spart1e's given it to him. Like, the opportunity, because I know he's looking for a rail angle there, but all it takes is, you're in the air, right? And being in the air against an LG means pushback.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know what to say about it now, Flea. 6 ring outs.
If vengeurR was half a meter closer in that first situation on Mega, he would have already gone out of the ring right there. He was just out of range, but still, vengeurR, he wanted the ring out, he was hungry for it, and he made it happen as well. 21 frags already. Aggressive push with the orb. Finally gets another frag on the board. Oh, vengeurR actually messing up the hook right there. Can Spart1e make something happen here? Still in an oppressive position, and he will indeed. But still, with 2.5 minutes left on the clock and
It's
16
no way.
frags, it's just not gonna happen.
Normally, I'll say I believe. In this one instance, I do not believe. I just don't. Lovely swing to build up that speed going towards the teleporter. Ultimately, this will be a done deal.
In some situations, there might still be time, but Ketchup, I think that this just simply isn't one of those. Spart1e, as you mentioned yourself, checked out. Oh, still has got some fight in him, but he knows it's all for naught. This is over and done. vengeurR is going to secure himself a 3-0 victory once more, netting himself a nice bit of cash. And Spart1e back to the drawing board for the next encounter.
Very much so. He is getting some wonderful, wonderful little comeback frags in the final case of the map. But I mean, we just need to talk about where it all fell apart. You know, Spart1e given up. I lost count of how many frags he gave up, just mistiming the items, dropping down on them, being a couple of seconds too early. vengeurR soaks it up easily, and then vengeurR takes the item, and then Spart1e has to go back to square one every single time. And it was just a bit too much. Way too much.
Way too much, yeah. I think that's a good way of putting it. Spart1e, you know, this one was over within the first 2 to 3 minutes of the game. And Spart1e, I understand what he was going for. The aggressive pushes on the item, on the refrag, but when it doesn't work once, twice, 3 times in a row, you have to stop. Right at that point, Spart1e already committed too much to end it there, and then before you know it, vengeurR just has such a tremendous lead. There's nothing you can do about it. Spart1e still landing some pretty sweet shots of his own.
Yeah, he's getting some incredible frags now. If there just wasn't this absolute gargantuan difference, this would be one hell of a comeback sequence. It's just, it became impossible. Before we were even halfway through, this was an impossible comeback.
Yep.
Unfortunately. It is unfortunate to see that for Spart1e, because you know, the Athena effect being a lot harder to actually hit with those rockets.
Absolutely, but still, we're still in the early stages of Quake Pro League Season 2. You mentioned it yourself towards the beginning of the stream. Plenty of time for Spart1e to improve. Lots of encounters still coming up. This wasn't the one, but who knows, right? It can always happen. And I'm starting to see a few worrying parallels between our Swedish players, actually. This playstyle reminded me a lot of Tox. Just that pushing on the refrag time and time again, putting yourself in a bad situation with just 1 or 2 starting weapons without exactly knowing when the item is going to spawn. And it just backfires time and time again. We're going to see it now on the replay as well, but this is worrying, and I want Spart1e to reverse that trend as soon as he possibly can.
Absolutely, and it was when we hit, I think, kind of like the 6th ring out of this map from vengeurR that I think a lot of these positions, it was really funny at first. And then it slowly but surely became more of an issue of just how Spart1e was pushing on a bit too fast and a bit too predictably, where vengeurR just had to kind of just hit those rockets the same way every time. He jumps down where the LG is already in play. That's a really common ring out position, to jump down and just get juggled. And it kind of felt like every single potential of you being too aggressive and getting ring out for your troubles, vengeurR Fallon was just, he just sent him into space right there. But these other ones, like that one, for me, was the final one of, okay, Spart1e's just giving it to him at this point, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Spart1e knew this was over and done a few minutes into the map. And the only thing you can really do when that gap emerges is, you can't play a normal patient game, right? Because there simply aren't enough minutes in a Quake match to make it happen. So the only thing you can do is try and brute force it. Throw yourself at your opponent, just hope to get a few of those frags, build some momentum, and then, you know, it might just happen still. But in Spart1e's case, it only ended up furthering and deepening that divide to the point that there was no room for a comeback. So nice try, Spart1e, very competitive, especially in the beginning of the first 2 maps, but still, it will be Maestro vengeurR getting himself this clean 3-0 victory. Congratulations.
He gave us... Sorry, I got a bit of a frog in my throat today. He gave us one hell of a sequence in general. All 3 maps he played phenomenal. In map 1, it was about how prepared he was for the deep embrace, and, you know, the Strog really amplifying that. Yeah. And then on the Ruins of Sarnath, the battle of control, being able to just hold as many items as possible so that Spart1e had nothing to work with. And then Molten Falls, just Spart1e playing into his hands, sure, but vengeurR being ready for that, and his placement of rockets. His rockets in particular were fantastic. All 3 maps gave us a little different edge of vengeurR, I think, and this is why he's one of the best players in the world.
Yep, absolutely, and it pleases me to see him do so well. You know, he's been getting closer and closer to getting that major victory at a final or at a LAN for the first time. Hasn't quite managed to do so, has been top 4 numerous times in a row now, and I think that we're seeing growth. And I think one of the most important things for vengeurR is just to get that consistency and maintain it. He did so well in stage 4 of season 1, and I'm glad to see him carry that over, and I'm hoping he can continue it into the finals as well.
Of all the players that are like yet to win a major championship, I just feel like, unbiased of course, I feel like vengeurR is the one that I want to see take it the most, because the hunger and passion and drive is all there, and he's you know, well, for Quake standards, he's a very, very young player, which is all the more impressive because a lot of the competition have over a decade on him sometimes, so that's kind of insane. Our next matchup, Maxster versus Zeniku, so we'll be finding out what happens with that one in a few minutes time, however, because we are going to throw to a break. Thanks so much for joining us so far. Go grab a drink. We'll be back in a few minutes time with more Quake Pro League.